All right, y'all. In the interest of everyone's time, why don't we go ahead and get started? Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the May edition of the DuPage ROSC presentation series. My name is Jarrett Burton. I am your DuPage ROSC coordinator. If those of you are just for the first time ever in any type of ROSC meeting, situation, whatever, I can give you the kind of elevator pitch, but a ROSC is a coordinated effort of not only like people with lived experience in recovery, but also folks who kind of work and or volunteer on the recovery continuum. So that's everything from acute care, detoxes, treatment centers, and then we go over to things like first responders or local business owners, churches, basically any part of a community that would have some type of dealings with folks who are living with substance use or mental health services or mental health challenges. And so we try to problem solve and work as a group to determine what the gaps are and then work to fill those gaps. So glad everybody could be here. This presentation series is usually an opportunity for us once a month to kind of get together, have a little bit of an extended conversation about things. If you've attended our Ross Council meetings, you'll see that like we don't have a ton of time to dig into some of those topics as much as we would like to. So this is that time for us to pick those topics on the continuum where we can kind of let it breathe a little bit and dig into some stuff. So this is a very special edition of the Ross presentation series because this is the virtual watch party for the Hope Lives Here Stories from Sober Living series that's been running over the course of the past few weeks. And I'm going to let Scott talk more about that here shortly. But I would like to kind of just do some housekeeping stuff early on to kind of promote what we've got going on. And then we'll get into the content after that. So let me share my screen. All right, everybody. Just a couple heads up on some upcoming meetings. DuPage ROSC Council does meet once a month as a council. We are on a extended tour of partner sites in DuPage County, and it's coming full circle. I think a little over a year ago, we were at Banyan Treatment Center in Lisle, and now we are back for the anniversary. We're going to speak to some people who maybe have gone through their program and are now the alumni network, as well as some other people doing pretty cool work in the recovery spectrum over at Banyan. So join us in person over in Lisle. We're also continuously collecting diapers and baby wipes for our friends over at Teen Parent Connection or the Glen Ellen Library's Community Closet. I was telling somebody recently, Glen Ellen's library, if you've never been there, is a fantastic community library. I think they were the first library to put up a Narcan wall box in DuPage, so very forward thinking. But we're taking donations of diapers and baby wipes, sizes 4, 5, and 6 are most needed. So if you've got that and you'd like to make some donations, just reach out to us and we'll make that happen. If you're unaware, Serenity House and friends do put on some drama therapy performances, and there's one coming up next week, Thursday, May 28th, the Act Aware Drama Therapy Workshop performance that will be at Serenity House in our big hall, 7 p.m. on Thursday. So as it kind of says here on the flyer, kind of through movement, stories, and creative expression as a way to kind of holistically treat substance use and mental health challenges. So come on out for that one, show some support. If you're unaware, I don't know how you're unaware because I've talked about it every meeting and every other meeting I see you guys at, which is we have, meaning Serenity House has, a mobile outreach unit, soon to be two mobile outreach units, and that is in a form of a van. You may have gone out and seen our van 3 or 4 days a week. We're out currently, and as I said, a second van will be coming in soon. What do we put on that van? Well, not only harm reduction materials, but also stuff that anybody living outside could use. When we go out, a lot of times it's trying to provide some support and items for people who are living in tent cities, especially in Aurora. And so you can imagine the things that someone would need while living outdoors, especially as it starts to get warmer. So socks and underwear are huge, but also t-shirts, shorts, and hygiene products. If you have already donated to us, which just some of you have, thank you again. Y'all have really helped make those mobile outreach units a success so far. So we're always looking for donations. Feel free to reach out. A couple of things happening in Kane. We do have a drop-in over at the Serenity House Resource Lounge. Did you know that Serenity House has an office in Geneva? Well, we do. And on Tuesdays from noon to 2, you can drop in over there. My co-coordinator over in Kane and at Villarreal hangs out over there with another one of our coaches, Walter, and you can drop in during that couple of hours to get materials, like we said, some harm reduction stuff, donations, but also if you know somebody who just needs to go and just kind of chill out in a safe place for a couple of hours, you can send them over our way in Geneva. I'd be happy to help provide that. Speaking of, we also have some reentry fellowship stuff going on. Just a quick background on this. The way that this came about was when the ROSCs and Serenity House's other community-facing programs started going into jails a few years ago. Started in DuPage, and we're also in Kane County jails as well. We would go in and we talk to the folks who were incarcerated, and they would tell us the anxieties they had about what they were facing when they were leaving. A lot of it was employment related, a lot of it was housing related, but also just finding a network and a community of people who are trying to improve themselves like they were. And so we provide that. So Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Over at that Geneva office, we provide that. So it's a reentry fellowship program, not program specific. If you're somebody who is formerly incarcerated or currently in a justice involved system, come get some fellowship. You can just hang around other people like you, not a lot of pressure, very casual. So if you know, or somebody you know needs some assistance like that, send them our way. We also do a virtual Narcan training second Tuesday of every month. If you or somebody you know needs a 101 or even just a brush up, this is a good one for that. We also kind of go into briefly the different adulterants that have shown up in the illicit supplies, where people can find Narcan in the community, all kinds of great info. Send them our way online. Nice lunch break. If you know somebody who wants to get quickly Narcan trained on their lunch break, you can send them to our virtual stuff. Couple last things, then we'll get into the meat. Human Services Clinical Supervision Workshop coming up on Thursday, June 4th with our friends College of DuPage. If you could benefit from a workshop like this, Mark Sanders, the man, the myth, the legend, will be the morning lecturer on clinical supervision. Mark's awesome. He also like gave us the christening for our very first Ross meeting ever. Like he did the very first like intro in. Super cool guy. Would really, really love it if people could pack that one too for our friends at COD. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, and then I'm going to turn it over to my buddy Scott Kaufman. And before we start, if we just make sure everybody's muted. All right, Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we can kind of maybe give a little bit of background about how this program started or this project started, and we'll get into the video.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Whether it was because you were excited to see this video or you always come to the presentation series for ROSC, happy to see you either way. This is the culmination of a really rewarding project. I mean, I'll let the team that worked to put the videos together speak about it a little bit later, as well as the people that we interviewed for their thoughts. But personally, like this started as a discussion in our behavioral health collaborative. Uh, we were in our substance use subcommittee. We were talking about uh, we were working for a little bit about sober housing, learning from existing sober facilities and what it took to establish them, what it takes to maintain them. We interviewed them, got their thoughts, kind of combined that information, and we're left with the bleak situation of, man, it is really hard to keep one of these running, and it's even harder to start one in the first place from out of nothing. And so that was not a thrilling end to nobody got a sense of satisfaction at the end of that. Tons of kind of depressing news paired with at one of those meetings, Jarrett sharing like, not only is it hard structurally to establish these because you have to go through all of these different processes. Obviously, they like you want to make sure that the facility is what it is advertising to be, but in order to be established, you have to make the case for it to a bunch of people that are generally predisposed to not even engaging with the idea of sober living. And the ideas that they have of sober living are so ratcheted up for totally like different reasons to think of it as this really harmful place that dangerous people live, where dangerous things happen, and it's right next door and it's in your community and you should be afraid of it. Well, that message really does pervade, and you can see that when Jarrett shared, like, we post on social media and hear vitriolic nonsense from people that really are not taking the time to even consider what sober living is and what it can provide to somebody, let alone what it what it can provide to a community and what those people can do with their lives. And so through this project, like we started talking like, well, what if we interviewed people that have gone through it? We shared some images online and did a campaign to kind of share their stories. Then it turned into, well, what if we tape that? What if we get the words from their mouth, show them succeeding and living their lives, sharing their stories, not like sugarcoating what it looks like, but sharing their real experiences of how sober living and how it was and what it meant for their recovery. And so what we're going to see is not the full range of video that was shot over the course of a couple months. I mean, that is, again, I'll let the video production team tell you how much it took to edit down even to this digestible 10-minute version video of the combined videos from some of the interview subjects. But we see it as something that stands alone and can be used to, not everybody is willing to let me sit down and watch a 10-minute video to have my mind changed, but it really is something that you can share to start that conversation or highlight parts of it. Like this is designed to, a lot of the social media videos were designed to be shared in the moment to grow support on social media, whereas this 10-minute video we see as something that can kind of stand the test of time and can be a pretty evergreen resource for what sober living can be for people that might be on the fence or considering supporting it. So with that long preamble out of the way, apologies, I'm always prone to preambling. Let me share and we can watch it. It is about 10 minutes long, but then afterwards we'll kind of get the thoughts of people that were interviewed and then gets the thoughts of the people that helped put the project together. So without further ado, here is Hope Lives Here.
So when I first came in, I thought I was going to be in a house full of strangers, but that's honestly how, it didn't feel like that at all. It felt like I was part of a family because I really didn't have much of a family outside of here. I finally have somebody that I can lean on, somebody who I can trust and talk to when I'm not feeling the greatest. And it's a whole group of people that understand where you've been. They've walked in your shoes. They have been where you've been. And that's the biggest part about it. And what it's like on a daily basis, it's just like living in your own house with 9 roommates. And it can get chaotic. It can get messy. It's not Skittles and rainbows, but it's a hell of a lot better than I ever thought it could be. And the structure is more like we all have our own position. There is a house president, there is a chore coordinator. They make sure that the chores are done properly so we can have a clean and safe environment. We also have someone who does the finances. And so everyone has an equal voice, which is the cool part about it, because even the president, they're not better than anyone else here. We need to be able to work together as a team so we won't sink. There's not one person that's more important than the other. So that's what I like about it, is that we all have to work together to build this common bond.
I never expected myself to go into sober living. It sort of happened organically for me, and I'm so grateful for it. But the road getting there, yeah, I went through personal struggles and I went through hard times, and I needed help. And I wanted to get better. I think that's the most important thing. I wanted to, but I just didn't know how.
So in the fall of 2022, I had reached a point in my life where I knew that my drinking had caused a lot of damage in my life, and that everything around me seemed to just start crumbling. I pulled into the driveway and 2 women came out of the house immediately before I had even gotten out of my car. And they greeted me and they said, "Can we help you with your stuff? We'll show you where your bedroom is."
I think the biggest misconception is just the judgment upon people that are facing problems with addiction or mental health in general, and they're looked down upon in society. And I understand the stigma is there for a reason, but it couldn't be more wrong about the majority of people that are in recovery. Some of the best people I've ever met.
I came here, and I remember turning to the couple of people I was with who came with me from the treatment center and saying, "Are you sure this is the place?" Because it was not what I expected at all. This was an incredibly clean, very, very nice campus. You know, people at multiple stages of the recovery. But the kind of unifying thing, it was all people who were kind of coming together for that one cause, which was to get better.
Meeting different walks of life, meeting different people going through different struggles, but sharing, you know, one thing in common is that we all need a little bit of help and more humanity and less judgment, but by far the people.
Again, that community aspect was pivotal in my recovery, and you never know who you're going to meet and, you know, the bonds that are going to form based on being with people that are going through the same thing that you're going through, you know. I think when you have people to recover with together, I mean, that can be absolutely life-changing.
I had a few misconceptions. I thought it was going to be a party zone. I thought it was going to be wild, no rules, and that was definitely not the case. It taught me structure, which I'd never had before. Again, accountability, responsibility. There's so many things it taught me. It taught me how to grow the hell up, because I definitely had never lived a life where I was held accountable. And I think another misconception was I thought that I'd manage fine if I just stopped drinking and drugging. And that wasn't the case, because when I quit doing drugs, it didn't fix my broken thinking. So I had to change from the inside out.
Well, I look at sober living sort of like the training wheels on a bike, and it's the last leg you need before you can go back out in the real world again. And so for me, it was, you know, you can live freely in sober living, and that's what I was able to do in my time when I decided to stay. And when I was ready to move out and go back find an apartment and live on my own without having alcohol or anything like that in my life, it was sort of like the training wheels were off, and I was able to do that again and be myself again and who I actually am, but just without alcohol. Sober living helped me live life without it, and that's the best gift I could have ever been given. So.
I didn't love myself. And I remember the first week I came in, somebody told me in the house, they're like, "I'm gonna love you until you can learn to love yourself."
It's a lesson that we learned, so it's a step toward recovery. That's all it is. It's the stepping stone. If it lasted for a week, a month, 3 months, it's another step closer to recovery. So just keep, you know, pushing, keep being present, and keep trying.
Everybody that lives in a sober living home is looking for the same thing. They're looking for long-term recovery, and they're looking for a new way to do things. So I would tell anybody hesitant about moving into sober living that just give it a try and see what happens. You never know, you might be surprised. I was very surprised in the outcome. I stayed in sober living for over 2 years because of how much it did for me, not only in my recovery, but as a person.
If you're struggling in any way, know that you're not alone, and that sober living is only going to benefit you and help you become your best self. And that there's a community of people that will help you in every step of the way. And it's a scary step, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Again, I would just tell them just to keep it simple, to just try and allow yourself to lean on other people when you're in times of struggle. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and allow yourself to be heard. Find your voice, because for me, I didn't talk for about the first 8 months when I came in. I was horridly shy. I cried at everything, thinking the world was against me. I thought I was at odds against the whole world, but it really was just a battle in my own mind. It was the way that I perceived everything. And so if you can just keep it simple and just be willing to learn and try, you're gonna be all right. You're not going to be able to succeed here if you're not open-minded, if you're not willing. And allow yourself to get past your comfort zone. Allow yourself to get a little bit uncomfortable, because it's not going to feel natural coming in at first. That's okay. But as long as you're willing to try something new, to try something different that you are not used to, then you might do all right here. It's not that difficult to thrive in a place like this. If I can do it, anyone can do it, honestly.
I definitely love not only advocating for the recovery community, but I love getting to recover out loud, you know?
I think there's a lot of changes that I've noticed. I would say the changes are that I'm unbecoming who I was never meant to be. And that's when I'm starting to, like I said earlier, learning who I really am. I'm finding my authentic version, who I was born to be. And so I'm starting to unlearn habits that I've had for so many years. And I'm growing into something I never thought I could be. I'm becoming who I want to be.
All right.
Look at all those reactions, Scott.
That's my reaction too.
Yeah, so I just first off, I just want to say, and we're going to open it up for some conversation. Scott's got some kind of format we'll go through here. I just wanted to say just a special thank you to everybody who participated in that. I just, I know the ask of being in something like that can be a big ask, not only just for participating in a video project, but being able to talk about your own recovery and your own experiences going through, not only is the educational piece, but it's the stigma reduction piece that's also really important. So just want to get my special thank you out of the way. And then Scott, yeah, how do you want to talk about some of the content stuff?
So I think the idea is to hear from the people that were interviewed first, and then hear from the people that put it together. So from what I can see, it looks like we've got Brianna, Danielle, and Jarrett here. Any one of you are free to speak up, but I wanted to first ask your general impressions of everything that came together in that video. We shared a few of the social media videos. Any thoughts on the project?
Are you talking so like us three or just
Yeah,
people
the
in
three
general?
of you. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean this is a passion project for me in a lot of ways because I'm obviously a product of sober living. I came through the Serenity House system, but I was like that person who very much had an idea of what I thought sober living was. Which was some of those stereotypes you heard in that video. The places were unsafe, or maybe they were kind of run down, or they were just places where like Illinois Department of Corrections would just back the bus up and people would just get out and start moving in. So just like all those really kind of harmful stereotypes about what sober living or recovery home living looked like. And so for me it was like, okay, finally we get a chance to maybe like smash some of those. So that was like why I wanted to get involved with this. And videos themselves were just so incredibly well done, and I'm so glad we were able to get kind of like a cross section of different types of sober living in those videos. So that was kind of my impression going into it. I don't know about Brianna or Danielle.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with everything that you just said, because I also was one of those people that, when I got sober and came out of treatment, sober living was the last thing that I wanted to do. I wanted nothing to do with it, things that I had heard, things that I had seen. I was like, I don't want somebody telling me what to do, how to do it, and, all those things. And Obviously every single sober living is different, different guidelines, different, levels of care and things like that. But, um, being that like my mind was changed and going through the experience, I was super honored to be a part of this project and be able to kind of share some of my own experiences, because there's plenty more of people like me and Jared out there that don't want to move into sober living. And so being a part of, trying to just be like, listen, I thought the same way you did. I felt the same way you did. I went through it anyway, and I was completely blown away. And, it certainly played a huge part in my recovery, up until this point and today. And, I work for Oxford House now, and, everything in my life has changed, and none of that would have happened without me being willing to, move into sober living. So, yeah, I was super honored to be able to share my experience and be a part of this project. And like originally, like Jared, you and I weren't even supposed to be in it. Like we were supposed to be finding other people to be in it. Somehow we got roped into it, but but no, it was good, and a really enjoyable experience. So
Yeah, honestly, I agree with a lot of what Brianna said and Jarrett said. I definitely had those stigmas as well before my first experience in a halfway house and sober living. I also one thing is I didn't think it would be as helpful as it ended up being in my recovery and in my journey. I don't know if I would have found recovery or stayed in recovery if I didn't have an experience at sober living, and practicing living my life without the substances um and also I like that camaraderie of being with other people going through the same thing you're going through who genuinely care about you and want to see you do good and vice versa. You genuinely care about them and want to see them do good. All of that was, you know, massive for my recovery, and I am honored that I got to take part in this video as well.
And I wanted to also just piggyback real quick about the importance of like finding the right type of house for you. And I think that's, why we talked about a couple different types of houses. So people like kind of know what they're in for before they even get there. That's really, really important. But the other thing is like every time one of us can get out like something like this or out in the community where we can have our faces visible and talk about our experiences with not only sober living but recovery, helps to show people that like their misconceptions about who comes through these programs, have been kind of flawed from the beginning. So they see who goes through it. Uh, Stigma is still really high in our area, not just around sober living, but about a lot of stuff recovery related. So any help we can get in this area is like massive. So, sharing these types of campaigns, even just taking part of them, are really, really important for DuPage right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like something that Danielle just said reminded me, like going into the project with BHC, I knew sober living was important for some people. I had been a part of ROSC meetings before where I had heard from Oxford House and sober living places that like share all that they do, knew that it was a positive, but really didn't understand how needed it was and how important it could be. Like Danielle said, I had been thinking this was a really vital resource for the handful of people that need this as part of their recovery in between treatment and long-term housing, not really realizing it's really only a handful of people that don't need something like this in that transition time between treatment and living alone or with a family in long-term recovery. It really is so much likelier that someone does need sober living, a place to sort of have transition supported in a structured environment by other people going through the exact same thing and maybe had been doing it for a little longer and can give you some pointers and give you some honest thoughts. Like that was kind of a huge takeaway for me, and I really like all the more reason strengthens the drive to try to establish more here in DuPage. So again, Jarrett, Brianna, and Danielle, uh, putting yourself out there, literally not just putting your face to something like this, but your name, your voice, on something that obviously we hope lives for centuries, but like is something on the internet that like would be available for anyone to see. Did you have any apprehensions about participating, or as you were going through it, did you find yourself feeling a little guarded or unsure about how the end result would look?
So, I kind of had to shed any apprehensions about being on like a social media thing a few years ago because for a while I was like early in my recovery. It wasn't that I was ashamed of anything I was doing. I loved, where I was. It's just I wasn't used to that type of thing, or at least having attention on me for something like positive like this. So it took me a little while to be able to kind of talk about it openly like this. You know, kind of just putting yourself out there, I think takes courage, even if it's something you're passionate about. Especially with like a vulnerable topic like this. So if like people don't know you've been through sober living and you want to maybe hold on to your anonymity a little bit, I think that's the struggle for some people. But for those of us who have been able to go out and do it, it's been very rewarding to be able to bust through that kind of like wall and be like truly okay with being visible in the community as someone like that.
Yeah, I mean, me as a person, like I have apprehensions about everything. So like this is no, like this is nothing special, but like yeah, I mean I'm very guarded when it comes to my own safety, my own security, my own serenity, all of those things. Um, but at the same time, like I have a very deep understanding for the people that get out there and share their stories and share their lives with other people, because I was one of those people that gained a lot of insight from other people that would share their stories with me. So that was way more important to me than somebody having a negative opinion about things that I had to say, because at the end of the day it became part of my recovery. Like this process became part of my recovery. My uncomfortability and doing things that are maybe outside of my comfort zone are part of my recovery. So yeah, absolutely. I was just kind of like, well, what if this? What if somebody says, like, at the end of the day, I was like, none of that stuff even really matters, So yeah, 100%. But certainly glad that I did it.
Awesome.
Um, it's funny, I don't really have much apprehension about it when it comes to like the public or anything. I'm a firm believer. I think I spoke about it in the video, but recovering out loud, like I think that is important and it shares hope and it shows other people that it's possible. Um, but I did have a little apprehension with like maybe like extended family, stuff like that that might not know everything going on with me and that kind of being more known in the family. But it was worth it and nothing negative happened from it. And it's always those fears that you have and you make a bigger deal for it out of it for yourself than it actually is.
The last question that I had for the three of you is I, having seen that the final product, the final product after a few of the shorter videos, is there anything, maybe it's something that you had mentioned and wasn't a part of that video, or something that someone else said that made you think? Is there anything that you would want to add to what was in the video that we just saw?
So I would say, and it may have been in one of the shorter videos,
Mhm.
where I talk about kind of like the importance of some of the structure. So, like at our place at Serenity House, there people have to be, meaning the clients have to be where they're supposed to be at certain times, right? And like while that can seem like maybe even a small or petty thing, even things like being at dinner on time every night helps instill accountability in folks who had no accountability for a really long time. And so that's why it's important to kind of start small. I think people who are in recovery probably get told to make their bed. That's kind of like a cliche, right? Like make your bed every day. You start small by building those accountability features. So I wanted to make sure that was there too, because there are rules at these places, right? And there's rules there for a reason, and it is to kind of instill that structure. So I just wanted to reinforce that idea.
I mean, it's hard to say going back at it and saying, oh, I wish we would have talked about this. I wish we would have talked about that. Um, I said this recently. We had our Oxford House, Illinois State Convention last month, and I spent a lot of time on a stage with a microphone in my hand talking in front of people, and I was like, I just like black out and I don't even remember what I said. So it was kind of the same experience when I was doing my interview after I was done, and I think I had probably even said this to Tom. I was like, did what I say even make any sense? Because I don't remember what I said at all. And he's like, oh, it was great. And I think, Scott, you were there too, and I was like, okay, I hope so. Like, it's up to you guys to put this together now. But I mean, you know, we covered different topics in some of the shorter videos, you know, with us individually and stuff like that. You know, I think overall we gave a pretty general, you know, good picture of sober living overall. So I was happy with the project, you know, as a whole.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. I think we touched on, I mean, we, like Jared said, we touched on the structure, you know, we touched on like the fun, we touched on like the like the relationships and bonds you make. I mean, I think that's all the biggest points.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you to the three of you, especially for agreeing to be a face for sober living and recovery here in DuPage. It really means so much to us to be a part of this project, but I think to people that might think, you know, I know that these things out there exist, but I don't really know who that's for. It's not for me. Like being able to see people willing to share their stories is what makes them know that they're not alone. And so I'm sure they appreciate it. I know that we appreciate it. So thank you for that. Shifting gears just a little bit, and I want to share absolutely a ton of appreciation, admiration for the video production team here at the health department that work in our health promotions department. We're lucky enough to have some of them here right now. We've got Tom Rocco, Macy Huff, and Carol Ann Becker on the call. And so if the three of you are willing, I've got some questions for you. First, starting off with your own kind of, this is a safe space. This is like, I think everybody here understands that none of you are steeped in substance use disorder stuff or the recovery world, but any preconceived notions about sober living before you started the project that you were coming into it with?
Um, I had no preconceived notions. I I don't really know much about sober living. I've never had to deal with it in my lifetime or any of my extended friends and family. But so when you first came to me with the project, Scott, I it was to me it was a project. It was about where's the cameras, how many, where's my audio, all that. That's kind of where I was at the beginning because that's what I have to be. I have to be able to coordinate the piece. But once I got in and I started talking to these ladies and the gentlemen, um, I mean it begins to touch you in a place that you don't that wasn't a part of my day to day. It's very rare that I come to work and have that kind of emotional upheaval. It's usually just a job. But this was a little different to me. It was ridiculously cool. I mean, and I feel like I met some people. I see a few of them are here. Brianna, Danielle, and Jared. I know are here, but there were others who just It was just, I felt like I made a friend those days. And not only that, but I also felt like I got to see um, in kind of into their soul a little bit. And that's such a special moment. And that's why I think it's so important that we continue to, um, do these types of projects to continue to get the word out. Danielle used the phrase recovering out loud, and I could not agree more after I heard that line, because it makes you, it pulls you in emotionally. And what else are we if not, you know, human beings? That's it. That's all we are. We go to work every day and we pretend that but this was a moment where I really felt like, wow, I really saw something special here today. So, yeah, it was a heck of a couple of weeks for us as we went out and started. The deeper we got into it, the more we started filming and talking to these people. We noticed that each one of their stories were fairly similar, but each one of their stories was so wildly different that it was just a fascinating week or two of just filming. I could not have been more proud of the discussions that I had with some of these men and women, and I think I understand them a little bit better, and I think we need to keep pushing these kind of things out there so that the rest of the world, because if there is a stigma, we've got to stop it, because that's ridiculous. These men and women are working as hard as they possibly can to get better and be healthy, and I don't understand why we would deny that. It makes me sad sometimes.
Same here. Yeah, totally agree. Macy or Carol Ann, any kind of thoughts going into it that about what sober living was, or things that you just didn't know about?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tom pretty much said that perfectly. I mean, I was kind of in the same boat. I didn't know a ton about sober living. I knew that it probably did some good for people, right? But I didn't pretty much know anything. And I learned a lot through this project. And although I didn't get to meet everybody, I went to just one of the interviews. Tom also did a great job of leading the interviews and kind of making it feel natural. And I spent a lot of time with these videos, so I feel like I got to know you guys, and everyone's story is so inspiring. I think I mentioned this to Tom and Caroline before, but I've, found myself, tearing up at these stories. Um, they're just so real and raw, and I appreciated everyone's, vulnerability and willingness to share on social media. That's, my job, and so I completely understand that that can be really scary, especially when you're, sharing something so vulnerable in your life. But yeah, I feel like I got to know everyone through these videos, and I appreciate everyone sharing their stories. And it was just such an amazing project to work on. And it was definitely the most meaningful thing I've ever worked on. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Macy. All right. Um, Carol Ann, anything additional or just ditto?
Yeah, I pretty much have the same thing to say
Yeah,
as everybody else.
for sure. That sounds good. I should have done this before I started asking questions, but to give you some insight, so Tom was kind of leading the production. He was providing the interview questions. He was doing a lot of the staging in the interviews, as well as the editing on the back end. Macy is our social media genius. She on a separate camera used separate footage and cut that together for more concise, right, highlighting into like 1.5 to 2.5 minute videos for social media and getting the word out that way. And then Carol Ann, a jack of all trades, doing so much on with the camera, the audio, and so much behind the scenes work. It takes a huge team, and even if you think that, once you see it in action, you realize, oh, this really requires a huge team, and it's both impressive and kind of like intimidating to see it all working together. So the team, a well-oiled machine on not just this project, but everything else they do. But it was very cool to see it turn to this subject for so many interviews. Um, so to the three of you, another question. Any either surprising answers or something that stood out to you that you'll kind of take away and remember a year or a couple years after this that really made an impact to you?
That's the interesting part, Scott. I've not thought about this question since you asked before you asked it, but my initial response is not really because what I saw was just basic, decent humanity, and I don't, so the only thing that there was one, there is one thing that I have. Used since well, the recovery out loud I thought was brilliant. Danielle, I don't know whether that a thing, is that that is said within the within the sober living community.
Yeah, I didn't come up with that one on my own. I've
Okay,
definitely
good.
heard it
I
before.
wasn't I wasn't sure, but as soon as I heard it, I knew that was gonna I was gonna figure out a way to emphasize that phrase. No, there was something funny, and I hope you guys find this funny because that's really what it's intended for. At the very beginning of the video, what is her name? Is it Chris? Who is it? The woman with
Cindy?
the
Cindy?
Cindy? Yeah, Cindy.
Yeah.
She says she's talking about how it's and she uses the phrase "it's not all Skittles and rainbows," and I have found I found myself using that phrase um, outside of work. So that's the way. If something, but honestly, nothing really surprised me because I know people and I know humanity and I understand it. And so when I see those things, I go, yeah, they're just me and you. They're just like us. They're just fighting every day, just like I fight every day. So I saw heart and soul is what I saw. I
Yep.
didn't see anything that I thought, wow, these people need help. They don't. They're just people. They're working hard and they're busting their butts every day to get to where they want to go. And but I will say this, and I've said this before too. I know I said it to Jared and Danielle. I could have done 2 hours. I could have done a 2 hour documentary on this subject matter because it is a fascinating subject matter. You're talking to a person with a few minor exceptions, has never really had a an addiction of any sort. I smoked cigarettes for a while and all that stuff, but this is a life-defining addiction, alcohol and drugs. And so I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say here, except that it was I say that they're all just human beings. They're fighting the same fights that we all fight, but in a sense, now that I think that through, it that may not necessarily be 100%. I would actually be interested in listening to what Jared, Danielle, and Brianna have to say, but about this subject. But maybe it is a little more difficult to have to fight an addiction on a daily basis. I don't, do you guys have an opinion on that? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot with a difficult question, but
So, I think a somewhat popular phrase sometimes with alcoholism or addiction is that there's no cure for it. It can only be like arrested as long as we're like treating it. So you almost have to look at it like I've had cancer in the past, and if I had cancer and I just decided to not go to treatments or anything because I just didn't want to do it, that would be like me getting diagnosed with being an alcoholic or an addict and deciding to not do anything about it. Like if it's truly a disease model, it's a disease we have to treat every day. And so that's how I've kind of compartmentalized that part of it for myself.
Mhm. That's a good way of thinking. I never put that together.
Uh, Macy or Carol Ann, any takeaways or things that stuck with you from the project?
Yeah, I guess something that just really stuck with me wasn't necessarily surprising, but just the emphasis on family and building that kind of recovery community and, seeing the connection that you guys have. Like I mentioned, I spent a lot of time with these videos. So I feel like that was kind of, a big theme here is, just reinforcing how much, we need human connection in, all parts of life. And so, I feel like that's just something that really touched me and will stick with me.
So cool.
I think something that really stuck with me was Jarrett giving us a tour of the Serenity House facility, which I thought that was really, really cool to actually like get a tour of the facility and the campus and seeing everything. And then also talking about the pets that people have to leave while they're in the facility because I grew up, my mom worked at an animal shelter and did a lot of work with like housing animals that came from domestic violence situations. So that's something that just stuck with me naturally since I grew up in that kind of environment. So just constantly thinking about that and what needs to be figured out to get that taken care of and stuff.
Yeah, can I jump on that one also? I think that I agree with Carolyn on that. That I was very surprised at how well put together these places are, these homes are, weight rooms and ways to improve yourself. I thought that that was pretty cool because
Yeah.
I had never been inside a sober living facility.
It feels like I have had the distinct pleasure of needing to take a meeting at Serenity House for something unrelated. And so Jarrett would walk me through, and as you're walking through Serenity House, not even on like an official tour, you're seeing so many different things going on. And like you said, like there's a weight room, there's a room where like meetings happen, there's a room like a TV area, like commons area. So you sort of in the back of your mind, like, oh, there probably is stuff like that. But then you see it and it's like, oh, this is like a really well set up, like really cool place to be.
Yeah, there was a moment, Scott, when we were finished filming at Serenity. There was a moment where a bunch of the clients were coming in. They all came in together. I don't know. It was around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, but you see them all come walking in, and you think, Jesus, every one of these people is here. They're showing up. It's just there were so many of those moments that where you don't know something is about to happen and then you see it happen and you go, that's very cool. So yeah, there were tons of them now that I think it through. But
Totally.
hmm.
So Scott, we
Well,
got what, like 8 minutes? Do you
yeah,
want to
yeah,
see if there was any comments from the attendees here?
yeah. So thank you to the three of you for your perspectives. I mean, it's great to get a peek behind the curtain. But yeah, with the remaining time we have, thoughts, questions from anybody that was not directly interviewed or part of the interviewing that you'd like to ask anybody. Ben?
Hi there. Thanks so much, Scott, and all of you who are involved in this thing. I feel like I could watch these videos for like hours. They're interesting people, and it's just real humanity. Wow, I'm a person with long-term recovery, and I recovered well, over a couple of decades ago, and I just had no idea what to do with myself when I got early in recovery and how I was going to navigate life. And just seeing these things. So I have shortly, very quickly, Jarrett, can I share this video with others? Okay, because
Absolutely.
I clicked on the
Please.
link. Okay, cool.
I'll speak for
Uh,
Jarrett. Yes, please
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. It's important to see this. And the second thing was, Scott, if yeah, my dream would be do more. Rocco, wonderful work.
Thank you, sir.
Um, could you show the sober living facility? I don't know. There's just a whole bunch of ideas that start hitting me. Once we meet the people, I want to see the place. I want to understand how this works, how it's structured. And that leads into the next thing is how do we get this video in front of the naysayers, the NIMBYs, if you will, get people to kind of check this thing out. Watching a video is kind of a passive experience. So it's not somebody coming at you and saying something. It's something that you take in and then have, maybe a discussion or something. It's just a way to get to people who feel like they want to fight this. And it's just, hey, we're just watching a movie. We're just watching a film. You can like it or not and just take it in. And I also wanted to mention the last thing I'll say is that there's a wonderful film about the Oxford House program. And that too, I would love to get in front of people. Well, many of my neighbors, we're just we don't want these people, just to take it in and to just sit with it, really wonderful. Can't say enough, man. Make more, man. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben.
Totally. Yeah, Ben, thank you so much. I appreciate like all of that. I agree with all of it. It's your point about how like sharing this. I think something that's difficult is, and we tried to get it to sort of break containment of like the people that are already supportive. Like, yes, we want them to see it because it's touching and really important and great. We want to highlight these stories because of how great they are. But the importance of this is getting it in front of those people that are not predisposed to wanting to do it. Please, like, I wanted to do a little bit of like brainstorming of how to do that, but some thoughts that I had was like if you're at a city council or a group of elected officials and they're discussing this topic, if you ask for 5 minutes and show half of it, or 10 minutes and it can show the whole thing, like that, this stands on its own. Even like, and if you can have discussion after it and highlight parts of it, that can be a good place to start the conversation rather than starting the conversation with I'm freaking out about what this is going to do to my home values. Like I'm not saying no one can be considering home values. I'm saying you're a bad person if you were thinking about home values after watching that video. So I think in all seriousness, it just is something that I urge us to seek out ways to share with friends that are not already part of this group and with colleagues that work on something like sort of related but sort of not, and so that they can kind of spread it, because this is the kind of information that we need other people to absorb and realize that like when you're freaking out and being vitriolic and being nasty, you're doing that about and to somebody who's a real person working on themselves.
Well said. I would say also, anytime just where we're able as people to maybe refute stereotypes we hear about sober living, just on a personal level, I think that helps quite a bit. And then, if you work for one or you're an alumni of one, get involved, go back, stay involved, give people tours. Like we mentioned, like it's a simple thing, but like just to show people campuses, like they can come to our Serenity House anytime they want. I'd be happy to give them the VIP experience. But yeah, just pushing back on kind of those harmful stereotypes we hear is the important part for me.
We've got like a couple minutes left. I don't want to go past our allotted time. So any like final words that anybody has or wants to leave us with?
Going once, going twice. Well, how about this? There will be, I'll put this up on YouTube at some point, probably later in the week. But share the videos. That's the important part. Share the videos with your networks, and then do what we can to kind of refute those dangerous stereotypes. I want to thank Scott for helping coordinate this initiative through the BHC, but also kind of in partnership with ROSC and others, and also the production team. Tom, Macy, and I'm sorry, I know we have the third person here too.
Carol Ann, yeah.
Carol Ann, that's right. I'm so sorry. I can only remember 30 names at the same time. So thank you to the team. Fantastic job. I was thrilled to take part in it. And Scott, I'll give you the final word.
Oh, just massive appreciation for everybody that was willing to be interviewed, especially those that weren't able to come here and say their piece. I'm thinking of Cindy, Jess, and Mariana. So beyond thankful for them and the three of you here that were interviewed. Thank you so much to Tom, Macy, Carol Ann, and Rob, who wasn't able to join us. This does not happen without all of your help. So please share it widely. We are going to do another big push through BHC. We'll do big pushes through all of our coalitions, but please feel free to reference and use this and share this long beyond any of those sharing efforts. This, we hope, will be around for a very long time. Have zero work. You don't need to get approval to share this. You don't need to get like, is Jared okay? Is Scott okay with it? Like, please share it widely. Don't even consider that. So thank you everybody for your time. We love you. We love all the work that you do. Have an awesome rest of your day and keep fighting the good fight.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you at the next one. And yeah,
Thank you
recover
all.
out loud. Thank you, Ben.
Recover out loud. Love it.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.